Hi again. I am going to be talking about chapter 12. I'll probably have to divide this up between two videos just for speed of uploading. Each of these videos takes about an hour, hour and a half to upload. So I will try to keep these videos fairly short, but I'll probably break this up in two. So, again, there are some very, very important details that may be overlooked in this chapter called darkness. So, we are focusing again on Sidney Carton. He's walking around town and he winds up at the wine shop. And he's sober. He hasn't had anything to drink in a while. He stops in front of a mirror and even notices that he's starting to change physically because inside of him, he's becoming more healed and having more of a purpose. So that's manifesting itself even on his outside look. Um, when Sidney Carton arrives at the wine shop, there are no customers there, but there are some people there. So we have Madame and Monsieur Defarge, the Vengeance, one of the Jacques 3, and then of course then there's Sidney Carton that walks in. And on page 337, it's important that Sidney Carton asks for the wine speaking French. And pay attention to how Madame Defarge reacts to him. So on page 337, it's kind of funny. So like if you were watching this, you can almost see her mind thinking. So this is at the very top of page 337. It says, Madame Defarge cast a careless glance at him, at Sidney Carton, and then a keener, and then a keener, and then advanced to him herself and asked him what it was he had ordered. So she's staring at him for many reasons. And we learn further on down the page, I don't know, about 10 lines down, she says, I swear to you, like an Evermond. And she is realizing that Sidney Carton looks like Charles Darnay. And so even she's noticing it. And so she's, trying to put two and two together. And remember, nothing gets past Madame Defarge. And so she's, being very keen with him. And so moving on, Sidney Carton pretends to be reading a book and that he's drinking his wine and he's not paying attention to the conversation that's going around him. And this is what we need to pay attention to. So again, we have Madame and Monsieur Defarge, one of the Jacques, and the Vengeance having a conversation about the Evermond family. So on page 337, we have Monsieur Defarge. Well, actually, no, this is the Jacquerie, or the Jacques saying this. This is the last quarter of the book, and it's one of the Jacques saying, it is true what Madame says. Why stop? There is great force in that. Why stop? And then she continues at extermination, said Madame. Magnificent, croaked Jacques 3. The Vengeance also highly approved. So right then they're discussing, now that we have Charles Darnay, who's been denounced and about ready to be killed, why stop there? Remember, the whole Evermond family has been conscripted by Madame Defarge, sins of our father. So not just Charles is going to be killed, but then everybody else. So this would be Lucy, this would be little Lucy, everybody who's connected to the Evermond. But then we have Monsieur Defarge. And so this is, again, we get to see the difference between Monsieur Defarge and Madame Defarge here. And, moving on down to 337, he says, extermination is good doctrine, my wife, said Defarge, rather troubled. In general, I say nothing against it. But this doctor, meaning Manette, has suffered much. You have seen him today. You have observed his face when the paper was read. And then she says, I have observed the face, she said contemptuously and angrily. Yes, I have observed his face. I have observed his face to be not the face of a true friend of the Republic. Let him take care of his face. And then Defarge says, and you have observed my wife in a deprecatory manner, the anguish of his daughter, which must be a dreadful anguish to him. And she says, I have observed his daughter. I have observed her over and over and over again over these last few months. And so he's trying to say, like, we got Charles Darnay. I get it. We're going to exterminate him. We'll kill him. Fine. But why can't we just stop there? Why do we have to go after Manette? Why do we have to go after Lucy? They haven't done anything wrong. In fact, Manette has actually helped us. But Madame Defarge is so set on her ways that she doesn't see the reason for saving Lucy or anybody else that's connected to Charles. So again, Sidney Carton is listening to this whole conversation going on. And so he's being very, very secretive, but he's taking it all in because he's trying to understand the temperature of what's going on. Let's go on. Oh, so then we get Dr. Manette coming back in, and he is back to his old manic phase where he's trying to find his shoemaker's bench because he needs to make ladies' shoes. So again, this is a mystery we don't quite understand yet, but he's back into that where the stress is so great on him right now that he reverts back to this time when he was in 105 North Tower. So Dickens is just reminding us that maybe he's not 100% cured of his past, his PTSD to some extent. Then very maybe seems insignificant point. This is on 341. We're going to move ahead a little bit. We have Mr. Lorry and Sidney Carton. They're still at the wine shop, and there is a dropping of a piece of paper. So let's talk about that because essentially this is like a passport. So Mr. Lorry sees that Sidney Carton has picked up a piece of paper that says that Sidney Carton is allowed to go back to England at any point. And Mr. Lorry has also said that Lucy and Dr. Manette have a passport as well. And what Sidney Carton says is, here, Mr. Lorry, take my passport or my papers and keep it until tomorrow. I want you to have this. More directions, to come, but keep this piece of paper because this is like a free exit ticket to get out of the country. All right. So maybe you're starting to put some things together. I don't know. Hopefully you are. It's just interesting that, we have this piece of paper that will be a get out of jail free or get out of the country free card here. On page 342, moving on, Sidney Carton, after hearing the conversation in the Defarge's wine shop, tells Mr. Lorry that Lucy and Dr. Manette and little Lucy are in great danger, that Madame Defarge wants them denounced as well. So they need to get out of the country fast. And that's what why those papers are so important in order for her and her family to get out of France. Before Madame Defarge or the revolutionaries come and get her. All right, I'm going to stop this one and part 2 coming.